Hey guys, it's Max. We just got in the brand new iPhone 12 Pro, and today we're going to be comparing it against the iPhone 11 Pro. But this isn't your typical comparison. Not only are we going to be covering the differences in design, size, performance, and those standard kind of things, but we're going to be touching on things that nobody has covered yet, such as the speakers. We're going to cover the LTE speeds, not only how much faster 5G is, but how much faster is the 4G modem in here if you're in an area that doesn't have 5G, because that's also been updated. We're also going to be doing things like testing out Magsafe, and we're going to see if we actually are getting 15 watts out of this. If you guys didn't see the previous video yesterday, you might want to check that out. And answering the question, if you don't buy Apple's new 20-watt USB Type-C charger, do you still get 15 watts or is it slower, and how much slower? As you guys know, there is no charger or earpods included in the box, and Apple says it's to help the environment, but we think the main reason is in order to keep the Pro at $999 while giving it the best 5G chip on the market instead of hiking up the price like most Android phones. And because they're getting rid of those accessories and we just have this Lightning to USB cable, the size of the box is half the size, which saves a ton of space in warehousing, which in turn helps the environment and saves Apple a lot of money. Now I have to comment on this. I was kind of skeptical about the Square Edge. I know Vadim, you were super hyped about it. But man, this thing looks and feels amazing. Right away, I'm noticing two different things. First off, it feels more comfortable in the hand than I expected with these square edges. And two, it feels thicker than I expected. The iPhone 11 Pro is 8.1 millimeters, whereas this new 12 Pro is 7.4. That is the thinnest phone in years. And interestingly, before this, I was checking out the SE, which is 7.3, just slightly thinner, and I was expecting this new phone to feel close to the SE, but it doesn't at all. That's because having these rounded edges, like on the SE and the previous iPhones, the 11 Pro, it kind of gives you an illusion of thinness, whereas this thing is significantly thinner, but it feels thicker. Another surprise is that the 12 Pro doesn't feel any heavier despite it being larger and having this larger 6.1-inch display. And comparing the width, they are surprisingly basically identical despite having that larger display due to the new design. The height is barely changed. So if you're worrying about having a larger phone with the 12 Pro, don't worry. The buttons are lower from the top than before, so they're still gonna be easy to access. And along with that, they do feel a little bit nicer, a little bit more clicky on both sides. Now, the dot was moved over from the right-hand side to the left, and that's because we have this new additional antenna, 4mm wave 5G. And as for the bottom, we are losing one of the little speaker grill cutouts on the 12 Pro. The camera bump is a little bit larger and the lenses are slightly larger to be proportionate. Now with that, it actually sticks out more so because the phone is thinner. And if we line them up on the desk, the actual lenses are at the same exact level. The flash is also larger and we have this new LiDAR sensor, but it's interesting that the microphone little hole here is much smaller, so we're gonna have to test out the audio quality. Taking a look at the front, let's go ahead and power it on, and you'll notice a couple things. First off, the bezels are quite a bit thinner. That's because the glass on the front now is completely flat, whereas before it was curved around the edges to meet the frame, meaning that Apple had to stop the display earlier before that curve. Now, another thing that really stands out is with this new 12 Pro, the glass literally meets the frame and you can't even tell a difference. So the frame is not protecting the front, but it does feel very nice. Now the notch is identical on both of them, but because the bezels are thinner, when we stack them up side by side, we do actually have more room on the sides of the notch. The new 6.1-inch display isn't that much larger than the 5.8 in terms of screen real estate, so you might want to look at the Pro Max if you wanted more space. And I do want to mention that the glass is using new ceramic shield, which Apple says is 4 times stronger. Now let's test out Magsafe. This is what Apple is advertising very heavily. It's a new kind of killer feature with the new iPhones, and they even sent out all the reviewers these magnetic sheets so they can show off the magnets. My curiosity is, how much stronger is the connection on an iPhone compared to the case that we tested out previously? So I had that feel right there. Yeah, actually, I definitely noticed a difference. Pulling up with the case, you actually can feel that it's not that difficult. I mean, we still have a solid connection, but then taking MagSafe and connecting to the phone, this is the same amount of pressure I'm applying to the case, causing it to pop off. But on here, wow, that's a much more solid feel, and that is fantastic. So let's go ahead and test out with the case here. Go ahead and pop it on. And that was a lot easier putting the case on compared to older generations. Okay, it almost feels like it's amplified, but even you're saying maybe it's gonna help.
Yep.
The connection, it feels like it's even stronger using a case with MagSafe than just the phone, and then of course the case by itself is really weak. And now let's test out the new MagSafe charging and see how much faster it is compared to the older iPhones using standard 7.5 watt charging. I'm gonna start out with the new 20 watt USB-C brick, and then I'm also gonna test what do you get if you're using the 18 watt that a lot of people out there have. The results are in, and wow, I was not expecting this. We have 5 watts with the standard Qi charger, and with this one I actually got 7.5 on my 11 Pro Max, so maybe it's not perfectly aligned on here, whereas MagSafe, it's always gonna be perfectly aligned. But with MagSafe and that 20 watt brick, we're seeing 11.76, so basically 12 watt wireless charging. Now this could be for a couple of reasons. The one that I probably think is the most likely is that we are at 79%, and we don't know when Apple is tapering down that 15 watt wireless charging down to 12 or even slower. Now we are gonna be doing a detailed comparison between MagSafe charging and fast lightning wireless charging, and then even a slow brick, and then we'll see a full graph, 0 to 100%, how much faster it is overall and where that tapers down. So make sure you guys subscribe if you guys wanna check out that video. Now let's go ahead and test out using the 18 watt brick. And we have the results with the 18 watt power brick, and this app is showing 9.29 watts with this 18 watter. Now at this point we're at 82% charged, so once again that doesn't tell the full story. Make sure you're subscribed and have those notifications enabled for a detailed charge comparison. We're actually buying physical wattage meters, so that's gonna be an excellent video. Getting back to the displays, the spec sheet says that they're pretty much identical, but we did find some surprising differences. The typical brightness is the same 800 nits, but one thing that we do notice is that there is a white balance difference, and this is with True Tone turned on, and without True Tone, we see that the display is actually warmer on the new 12 Pro. Now that's not the only difference. If we take a look at viewing angles, the iPhone 11 Pro actually starts turning quite a bit more blue if you start looking off axis, whereas the 12 Pro is now very consistent, so that's a nice improvement. I do want to mention that we do not have ProMotion on the new iPhone 12, which we really wanted to have, but with that said, based on the battery life results, which we'll talk about in just a bit, it makes sense why Apple didn't add it. And now it's time for our speaker comparison. Apple didn't mention that there were any changes, but we're gonna test it out anyways, so go ahead and put on a nice pair of headphones and let's take a listen. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. I'll give you guys my opinion because we're hearing it here firsthand, and we actually got some good improvements in every single way, and I was not expecting it. Now maybe the module itself is the same, or the modules, maybe it's just the new design that helps, but we noticed that the highs are more crisp, they're a little bit more sharp, it's louder, the mids are more rich, and we have more bass as well, which is nice. And we tested out using my decibel meter on my Apple Watch, and the iPhone 11 Pro peaked at 81 decibels, and we got a peak of 83 on the new 12 Pro. So that's a 2 decibel difference, and that is a nice improvement. And now let's get into performance, and we're gonna start with what Apple is pushing like crazy, and that is 5G. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my T-Mobile SIM in here, and we're gonna do some speed comparisons. Now, a lot of people are saying that 5G doesn't matter, they don't have 5G in their area, but this new iPhone 12 has a newer modem. It's a Snapdragon modem, so even if you don't have 5G, the 4G should be faster. So we're gonna test both of those. Let's go ahead and get started. I am connected to the same server. Both are connected to T-Mobile. And for the old iPhone, we're getting 3 bars. But we're only getting 2 bars for the 5G with the iPhone 12, but look at that speed difference. Wow, so we're looking at 2.3 compared to 40. Oh, that just went down to 1 bar. And I have to say that we are in a city right now where we're having a snowstorm outside. Usually our reception would be a little bit faster here indoors. And 5G, we have just a slow version, the sub 6, but that really helps penetrate walls and through different things. And maybe that's helping with the snow outside because look at that difference. Now the upload isn't that different, but the download speeds from 2.3 to 45, and we are in a concrete building as well. So in bad conditions, that's a massive difference. So we just went outside and tested this on the roof, and look at this difference. As far as download, we're getting 28 on the iPhone 11 Pro and 65 on the 12 Pro. Upload, we have a massive 91, which is the fastest I've ever seen here. And then for the 11 Pro Max, it got 49. Now, if you look at this graph, the 5G was extremely consistent, whereas the 11 Pro, it actually was running at about 20 for the upload. And then as soon as our 12 Pro got finished, it went up to 49, which is also very good. Now, of course, your results are gonna vary based on your city. We have pretty slow speeds here in Spokane, but with those slow speeds, the 5G phone, the new iPhone 12, is getting really impressive results. And now for those of you guys that don't have 5G in your city, let's go ahead and go into the cellular data options, and we're gonna go ahead and turn off 5G. We're just gonna go to the LTE. That way, we'll be able to test if you'll get any improvements just with your standard LTE. Let's get started. We're connected to the same server, and one interesting thing is that in LTE mode, our iPhone 12 Pro only has 2 bars instead of 3 with the 11 Pro. But look at the speed difference. How could this be possible if we only have 2 bars instead of 3? Actually, I know, it's the modem. We have a Snapdragon X55 modem, the best currently on the market, compared to an Intel modem, which is, I've been disappointed the last couple of years if you guys saw my reviews. And we did another test outside. It's so cold out there. And both with LTE, both had the same 5 bars. And look at these speed differences. We're having literally 4 times faster download and twice the upload speed, both of them just using standard LTE because of that new Snapdragon LTE chip or our modem in here instead of using Intel. So forget about 5G if you don't have 5G, they're marketing it. This is the real results. For everybody that's upgrading, you're gonna get faster download speeds, and people that are in better cities that have faster LTE speeds on the 11 Pro, your speeds might double or even triple. That is very impressive, and I've never seen this good LTE speeds here in Spokane. So if you're somebody that is suffering with bad reception, slow speeds, bad penetration into buildings, you can't stream videos very well, man, this alone might be a reason to upgrade to the new iPhone 12s. I also want to mention that I am going to be doing a detailed comparison between 5G and 4G using different parts in the city, basements, outdoors. So make sure you guys subscribe if you want to see a much more detailed look at the data speeds. And now let's test out this new A14 processor. We're gonna start out with Geekbench 5, and the A14 is the first 5nm chip on the market. Not only does it have better performance and lower power usage, but it also has much faster machine learning. And the results are in. I wanna show you guys the 11 Pro first. We have 1300 for single and about 3400 for the multi-core score. And with the iPhone 12 Pro, we have 1600 for single core and 4200 for multi-core. So we have a difference of slightly more than 20% for single core, which is great. This single core score is the highest I've ever seen, and multi-core score about 25% faster. Now, not only do we have a performance difference, which to be honest, the A13 is already very fast. What I care about more is the RAM difference. We have 4 gigs with the 11 Pro and 6 gigs with the 12 Pro. That means if you're a multitasker like I am, it's gonna make sure that your background apps don't automatically close. And now let's take a look at graphics performance with this new A14. And here's the results. We have 7,300 on the 11 Pro and 9,322 on the 12 Pro. So that's getting close to 30% better metal performance. Now, I also just noticed that we're still running iOS 13 on this specific 11 Pro. So I did test out my 11 Pro Max with iOS 14.1 and I got 7,500, slightly higher. The previous CPU scores were right in line with what we've gotten on this one as well. To be honest, I was expecting a little bit more after I saw the iPad Air 4 benchmarks with that same A14, which we're gonna have a video on that coming up tomorrow. But I guess 30% is nothing to laugh about. So let's go ahead and do a gaming test. This is actually Antutu. Not only will it simulate a heavy gaming load, but also we're gonna take a look at things like memory, UX, and all that kind of stuff. And just looking at the test running, it's really hard to tell a difference. The results are in, and this is a little weird. The overall score is about 15% faster, accounting for everything. The CPU is faster, but looking at the graphics, the 12 Pro is actually rated lower a little bit, which might make sense why I couldn't really see a visual difference in smoothness. So I have no idea what's going on. Maybe this app is not using Metal, maybe it's using OpenGL. So we'll actually have to revisit this in our full review of the iPhone 12 Pro. Make sure you guys have those notifications enabled for that. But one surprising thing is the memory. Our memory score is actually right about double. It looks like the speeds, look at that, the write speed went from 900 to, is that 16,000? That's huge. And then random access is close to 2.5 times faster. And the read speed is also tripled. So it looks like not only do we have 6 gigs instead of 4 gigs, the actual memory here is much faster. So it looks like our RAM speed is right about the same, even though we have 2 extra gigs. That's not what is helping this. The actual storage speed is way faster. Maybe that's because we have 128 gig instead of 64 and upgrades in the chips themselves. And now let's talk about battery life. Now, obviously we haven't thoroughly tested it. We just got the 11 Pro Max, but Mr. Who's the Boss did an amazing comparison and we can get some very good info from that. Now, in his testing, the 12 Pro actually got 1 hour less battery life than the 11 Pro, which is disappointing. Now, this is for a couple of reasons. First off, the battery itself in this new 12 Pro is about 230 milliamp hours smaller, and along with that, at the same time, we have a larger display with more pixels, and that's where we're getting that difference. Now, with that said, if you're coming from an iPhone 11 or 10R or previous one, that's still gonna be a really nice jump in battery life compared to the other phones. And with that 1 hour loss, if you're somebody that's using 5G, you might actually get a little bit less battery life because 5G does take a little bit more power, but keep in mind, you can go in here and switch over to the LTE if you need better battery life. And now let's talk about the cameras. Now, only one of the sensors and cameras were actually changed, and that is the main shooter. With that one, we have an f1.6 lens instead of f1.8. And here you guys can see some photos. You guys let me know what looks better down in the comment section below. Now, along with that, we have a lot of software updates. We have Smart HDR3, we have night mode on all 4 camera lenses instead of just the main one, and we have a better deep fusion as well. So we will be actually doing a very detailed comparison, testing out Smart HDR and video as well, not only comparing the 12 Pro against the 11 Pro, but also the iPhone XS as well. That's gonna be a great video. Make sure you guys are subscribed for that one. We do have one addition with the 12 Pro, and that is the new LiDAR scanner. Now, it's not only used for photos, it can be used to scan different objects, and that's pretty cool, but most people are gonna be using it for a better autofocus and the new portrait night mode feature, so you can finally combine great low light performance and still get portrait shots. There's a couple more small little differences that I want to mention. First off, this camera is going to be able to use Dolby Vision for video, HDR built in, which is great. We're also going to have Apple Pro RAW coming up in a future update. And with that, we have some waterproofing differences. We have IP68 rating. With the 11 Pro, it goes up to 4 meters for 30 minutes. Now it can go up to 6 meters. And with that, let's finish off with prices and my final verdict. And the prices are staying the same. same, $999. And I know some people are upset that Apple is not including the charger in the box or the ear pods that nobody used, and that is kind of a bummer, but you know what? With Apple keeping the prices the same compared to a lot of the Android competitors that hike up the prices with 5G, and the fact that they're using the best 5G chip, and even if you don't have 5G, the LTE is way faster, I think that is incredible. And with that same price, we have double the storage, 128 gigs. It's about 3 times faster, and that alone right there is sweet because that is the sweet spot. Before you had to spend $150 more, you're forced to get 256, which I didn't do. 128 is awesome. So is it worth upgrading from an iPhone 11 Pro to the 12 Pro? And I have to say, absolutely. Now I know Vadim was very excited about this new model. I wasn't as excited, but now that I have it in my hands, it looks great, it feels great. Not only do we have a lot of performance improvements from the CPUs to the graphics to the LTE and 5G speeds, but we also have better speakers, we have better glass that's stronger, the viewing angles are better. There's a ton of improvements along with the cameras. I gotta say, this is a killer update, and if you have an 11 Pro, I think there's a lot of reason to upgrade. So thank you guys for watching. Let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Go ahead and click that circle above to subscribe if you guys want to see a lot more videos on these new phones. We have some great ones coming up, and check out one of the 2 videos over there. This has been Max, and I'll see you in the next video.